All right, welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all so much for coming over. As y'all can see in the title, we're back with more Mr. Ballin', man. This man did the unthinkable to another passenger. Lost episode 7. Again, appreciate y'all coming over and watching these videos with me, especially the ones that have seen them already. All right, and make sure you guys are subscribed to his channel. I'm on his Mr. Ballin' Shorts channel right now. He has a few channels. But shout out to all the good humans. Link is always in the description. We ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
July 29th, 2008, a little after midnight, a 40-year-old man named Vince Lee boarded a Greyhound bus bound for Winnipeg, Canada, using a fake name. He had left his house abruptly without telling his wife where he was going, but he left her a note, which she would later give to police, and the note just said, "I'm gone, don't look for me, I wish you were happy." Vince rode the bus for 5.5 hours without sleeping and got off when it stopped in Erickson. And the bus driver would say to him, "Hey, this is not your stop, you want to get off at Winnipeg." And Vince apparently just did not turn around, didn't react to him, didn't even seem to hear him, and just calmly walked away. And so the driver eventually just kind of shrugged his shoulders, closed the doors, and headed off. Shortly after the bus left, Vince was spotted sitting on a nearby bench holding a sign that said "Laptop for sale, $600. And over the course of the rest of that day and all night, Vince was spotted by multiple people, not moving, not sleeping, sitting upright, looking straight out, not even blinking. The next day, on July 30th, a 15-year-old boy would approach Vince and offer to buy his laptop for $60. And Vince agreed, gave him the laptop for $60. Once the kid walked off with his laptop, Vince got up, went behind a nearby store, and burned some of his belongings before going back to the bus stop he had gotten off at the day before and waited for the bus. A little while later, at 5:55 p.m., Greyhound bus 1170 arrived at the Erickson bus stop, opened their doors, and Vince climbed on board and sat in one of the front seats. Sitting in one of the last seats in the bus was a 22-year-old father named Tim McLean, who had boarded the bus 5.5 hours earlier in Alberta, Canada, after a long stretch working at a carnival. When he got on board, he was exhausted, so he went to the back of the bus, put his headphones in, leaned his head against the glass, and had fallen asleep. And when Vince got on board, that's what Tim was doing. He was still sleeping in the back. As soon as the bus left the Erickson bus stop, some of the 36...
I just remember growing up as a kid, whenever I would take the bus places, I could never fall asleep, ever. There's too many crazy people in the world, man. Can't do it, won't do it.
And when Vince got on board, that's what Tim was doing. He was still sleeping in the back. As soon as the bus left the Erickson bus stop, some of the 36 other passengers on board would say Vince was acting very strange. He was looking down and muttering to himself, and at one point Vince got up and he was pacing up and down the aisle towards the front of the bus. When the bus made a quick stop, Vince stood up, moved to the very back of the bus, and sat directly next to Tim in the same seat. Tim woke up, turned over, looked at Vince, gave him a quick smile, and then rolled back over and fell asleep, unfazed. The bus started moving again, and then a little while later, at 8:30 p.m., Vince stood up and went to the bathroom in the back of the bus. And some of the other passengers noticed he had a large knife in a sheath on his belt. 5 minutes later, Tim is still fast asleep against the window. Vince comes out of the bathroom and he goes back into his seat, but instead of sitting down, he puts his right knee on his seat and plants his left foot on the ground right in front of his seat, so he's facing Tim. He pulls his knife out of the sheath and drives it into Tim's neck. Tim woke up and he was trying to fight him off of him and he was screaming for help, but Vince was robotic and unemotional, just continuously attacking Tim until he went still. Other passengers were half asleep when this started, and so it took a minute before it registered with everyone what was going on, and quickly people started screaming, and then the bus driver pulled over and people were clamoring to get out of the bus. Once off the bus, a couple of the male passengers decided they had to go back in and try to save Tim, but when they walked up the steps and looked down the aisle, they saw Vince had had pulled Tim out into the aisle, Vince's back was to the front of the bus, and they could tell that Tim's head was no longer on his body. At this point, Vince whipped his head around and looked at the three men that had come on the bus, and he jumped up and charged them with the knife, at which point the three men retreated and ran out of the bus. And luckily, one of them was the driver, who was able to initiate the security system on the bus that made it immobile, so Vince couldn't drive it away, and it shut permanently the doors until you deactivated the security system. Vince tried to push the doors open, but he couldn't do it, so he went back up and continued to attack Tim's body. While waiting for the police to show up, horrified onlookers had to watch Vince as he continued to attack Tim, and in fact, at one point, Vince began eating Tim and actually held his body up to show them what he was doing. Finally, the police arrived, and after a standoff, Vince leapt out of one of the windows and was tased repeatedly and then arrested. Once in custody, he said he was sorry, but he also said the reason he did it was God was speaking to him while he was sitting on the bus, and he was instructing him that Tim was an alien who was going to attack him, and so he needed to go kill the alien to save the world. In a controversial turn of events, Vince Lee was found not criminally responsible for the death of Tim McLean, and so was not given jail time. He was sent to a treatment program that after
So this man did all that stabbing, eating a man, and he ended up getting tased. And wow.
killed the alien to save the world. In a controversial turn of events, Vince Lee was found not criminally responsible for the death of Tim McLean, and so was not given jail time. He was sent to a treatment program that after he finished, he was fully released. He was allowed to change his name. He has no restrictions. He has no supervision. He is a totally free man. Just minutes after Vince was apprehended by police, one of the passengers who had been sitting near Tim when the attack started gave an interview where he described what happened. Here are segments of his interview.
I was just reading a book. All of a sudden I heard a guy screaming. I turned around and the guy sitting right next beside me was standing up and stabbing another guy with a Rambo knife. Repeatedly. Everybody got off the bus. Me and a trucker that had stopped and the Greyhound driver ran up to the door to maybe see if the guy was still alive or we could help or something like that. And at that point, when we saw the head, we knew that the guy was dead. So then he saw us. He came back to the front of the bus, told the driver to shut the door. He pressed the button and the door shut. The three of us had weapons from the trucker's truck there, and we just stayed outside while he tried to get out the door. Telling him, no, stay put, stay there, don't try to come out. Some people were puking, some people were crying. The guy, he didn't care at all. He wasn't concerned with anybody, but the guy that he stabbed was listening to his headphones and sleeping. I honestly don't think that the guy knew him at all. I think he was just really crazy.
So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the
I'm just wondering, when they end up sending them to get help, right? Why not after they're cleared, then you throw their ass in jail? You know, if they feel like they're not a threat to themselves or nobody else, then they should go to jail if they want to do it like that. Like he was able to change his name and all this stuff. So this dude is literally walking around people as if that never happened, if he never did that. Who's to say something else won't trigger something? Jeez, man. Like think about the family. Like how? This was a crazy. It was short, but this was, oh my goodness, man. All right, you guys. Again, appreciate y'all coming over and watching. This one really chopped my hive, man. I was thinking once he was going to get off the bus, they were going to shoot him or something. Like, all right, man. Peace out. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Wow.